What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another training video. We're going to be talking about deloads today, but in the background you guys are going to be watching full body D. Hey, I guess that kind of works out. D for deload. This particular training session is what I would consider to be the most difficult out of the 4 workouts that I do, mainly because of the exercise selection. You guys will see about midway through the video that I do the RDL and a hack squat, and I actually do those back to back. So not only having both of those movements in is quite difficult, but having them back to back is particularly difficult. And out of the 4 workouts that I do, this is the one where I always feel the worst the day after. You know, I'm always sore to some degree after every training session, but after this training session in particular, my whole body just feels completely trashed. So I still think that this is the hardest workout out of the 4 that I do, but it's also the last workout of each training rotation. And this particular full body D workout that you guys are watching is the last workout of the second to last rotation of the training block. As of the day that I'm recording this voiceover, I am on the C workout of the subsequent rotation, and I only have one more workout to finish before I start my deload, which we'll kind of get into today. Because I'm deloading, I kind of want to talk about the premises of deloading and kind of what a deload is, and some signs that you may need to notice that you may need a deload, and then how we can kind of fix the problem. So I guess that I'll just start this off by explaining what a deload is, to me at least, how I view a deload, because I think that there's a big misconception on this. I've been seeing on social media people claim that if you need to deload, then that's a sign that your programming is poor, and that's just, in my opinion, it's a little bit thinking outside of the box. So for lack of a better phrase, all that a deload is, at least in my mind, is a period of time that you are specifically dedicating towards reducing the amount of workload that you're doing in the gym. And there's a bunch of different ways to do that. But whichever way that you do that, the main thing that you're trying to accomplish is that you are bringing down your level of workload so that you can allow your body to recover. At the end of the day, guys, we are all human beings. And if you're training hard, in my case, literally as hard as you can, putting maximum effort into every set, and then while doing that, you're keeping track of your weight and reps and actively progressing those, your body is not going to be able to linearly progress without needing to take some period of time off. And what I've kind of noticed from my experience is that if you don't take the deload, your body is going to force you to take the deload, whether that results in you getting sick or getting injured or something along those lines. But all that a deload really is just a period of time where you're pulling back. And I think that people are doing this whether they're even realizing that they're doing it or not. You know, let's say that somebody is in the middle of a great run of training, and you know, maybe something comes up at work and they need to take an extra 3 to 4 days off just to finish a work project before they get back to the gym. That is a deload. I would consider that to be a deload. The person took 3 to 4 days off in this instance with the sole goal of getting their body recovered. They realized that they weren't going to be able to put as much effort into the gym during that 3 to 4 day period than as what they would normally be able to, and so they just decided that it would be better off to take some rest days and be able to get back at it after the project is done. That's all that a deload is, guys, is it's just a period of time where you are essentially admitting, and even if you don't admit it and it just happens organically, again, maybe you get sick and you have to take a week off of the gym. At times that could be considered a deload too. So I think that just the term deload, at least from what I see in my comment section, specifically on TikTok, has a lot of negative connotation around it. And I think a lot of that negative connotation just stems from a basic misunderstanding of what a deload is at its core. And I am a big fan of traditional sports, so baseball, American American football, European football, and in a lot of instances, I don't like to make comparisons with bodybuilding training to traditional sports because there is a lot of differences between them. But in all other sports, whether it's a traditional sport or even when we're looking at weightlifting sports like powerlifting or CrossFit training or Olympic training, in all assets of athletic competition, everyone understands the concept that the athletes cannot play or practice or train as hard as they can permanently in every single sport, whether it's a traditional ball sport or whether it's another form of barbell sport like lifting sport. All of those athletes have dedicated periods of the time where they maybe take time off of the gym, or maybe they don't step into the basketball court at all and they allow their body to recover. And so this concept is happening in all facets of athletic competition and sports performance. But for some reason, there's this strange prevalent mindset within bodybuilding training and hypertrophy training specifically that this isn't something that's needed. So I think that this is just a flawed and narrow-minded mindset from the beginning. And another common issue that I particularly see with new client applicants is that they're not even aware of some of the signs that they need to be paying attention to that would indicate that they need to be able to take some sort of a deload. I think most people that are determined to actually make as much progress as possible in the gym can wrap their mind and their head around the fact that they may need to take some periods of time backwards in order to move their progression forward. But they may just not be able to read the signs and know when the appropriate time to take a deload is. So what are some signs that you may be able to experience that would indicate to you that you may need to pull back on your training? The first and most prevalent one, the most obvious one, would be performance loss. And this would be indicated by your logbook. First of all, if you're not logbooking your training, then that's the first place to start. You need to have actual qualitative numbers that prove to you that your performance is not improving. And the way that you do that is by keeping the logbook. The logbook is the scorecard. The score tells you whether you won or lost. And obviously it's not a direct one-to-one, but seeing logbook regressions, lifts that you've always been able to progress, suddenly stop progressing, or even worse, start going backwards, would be an indicator that maybe you're just a little bit overtrained and your body isn't getting enough time to recover before you come back and you repeat that exercise again. Another one would be joint pain, and in particular joint pain that isn't exercise specific. So I think we've all had the instance where maybe we put in a brand new exercise, maybe we change from a cable row to a machine row or something like that, and then all of a sudden your elbow starts hurting on that machine row. That would be an instance of exercise-specific joint pain. Maybe the reason why you're getting pain there is because your body doesn't align with that particular machine or what have you. But if you have exercises in your program that you have been doing for months or even years that have not caused any joint pain, and all of a sudden you're starting to get sudden, unexplained joint pain, particularly in areas that are being trained pretty heavily, that would be an indicator that your soft tissue is not recovering at the same rate as your muscle tissue, and continuing to operate down that path may lead to an injury that will force you out of the gym. That would be another thing to pay attention to. Poor sleep quality and or sleep quantity. This is something that I typically notice with myself. When everything is going great and I'm recovering well, I'm able to sleep 7 to 8 hours per night, and I'm usually waking up maybe once in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, sometimes twice, usually just one time, and then I'm able to go back to bed and not have any issues. When I'm overtrained and I need to take a deload, one of multiple things will happen. One, I will be waking up multiple times through the night. I may have an issue falling back asleep once I do wake up in the middle of the night. I'm starting to average maybe closer to 6 to 7 hours instead of giving 7 to 8 hours. And then obviously at its absolute worst, I may have periods of time where I wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and I can't go back to bed at all. And normally my sleep is very, very good. I don't have any issues with falling asleep or staying asleep. 90% of the year. So when I start having unexplained instances of my sleep quality and quantity getting disrupted, that's a very obvious indicator to me that my nervous system is a little overtrained, and that's starting to bleed into my sleep. With that, disrupted digestion, which is very similar to what I had mentioned with the joint pain. If you bring in a new food and you start getting digestive issues, that's one thing. But if you've been following the same diet for months with no digestive issues, and all of a sudden you start getting continuous repeated digestive issues out of the blue, that would be another indicator that your nervous system is just overreached and you're getting overtrained, and that's starting to affect your ability to digest your food. There are some other ones here: decreased libido, increased frustration. Maybe you're somebody who's usually pretty calm and chill outside of the gym, and you're finding yourself getting more agitated and irritated with a lot of things. And then another one that's very prevalent with a lot of my clients, and with me specifically, coincidentally enough, is a decreased lack of motivation to go to the gym. And this is one that we kind of need to pay close attention to, because there are always going to be periods of time where we're motivated and not motivated to train. And motivation may not be the best word to use here, because obviously to a certain extent discipline is going to come into play here. But when I start to notice that literally for maybe weeks in a row, or 5, 6, 7 training sessions in a row, I'm thinking to myself, I really do not want to go to the gym today, or I would rather stay home and get caught up on work or take a nap. When I have absolutely no motivation or drive at all to go to the gym, that's a huge indicator to me that something is wrong, because I'm somebody who's very, very motivated to go to the gym. My financial aspect of my life is kind of dictated to me going to the gym and filming it and posting it on social media. So I have a very strong love and strong passion for training. So when my motivation to go to the gym is very low, then that's another huge indicator to me that I need to pull back. And I always notice that once I do run a deload and I kind of get my body rested and the central nervous system recovered a little bit, that's the biggest indicator that I'm ready to get back into normal training, is that motivation comes back. And I'm very, very amped up and eager to get back into the gym and pick up with my training again. Now, speaking of recovering and getting a deload executed and getting back into feeling normal, let's kind of talk about some practical ways that you can do that. So circling back to the beginning, I want you guys to keep in mind that the only thing that matters is that you drop off fatigue. And there's tons and tons of ways to do that. One of the most obvious ways would be to take complete days off of the gym. To give you guys some straight numbers, it may be anywhere from like 4 to 7 days off of the gym before you get back into training. You could take a look at your training program and modify your training frequency, volume, and or intensity. Those are the 3 main variables that you have within your training: is how much volume are you training with, how frequently are you hitting your muscles, and then how hard are you training your muscles. And you can adjust 1, 2, or all 3 of those things to accomplish a decrease in workload. Again, literally limitless ways that you could do this. And whenever I do this with a client, it's based off of their specific situation and their specific program and their specific schedule. So it's kind of tailored to that person. It's a little difficult for me to kind of give you guys some concrete ways that you could do this. But maybe a simple way would be if somebody is doing upper lower training where they're training maybe 5 days per week, maybe they're training 2 days on, 1 day off. I may have them just train every other day. So maybe they do upper rest, lower rest, upper rest, lower rest. And the way that kind of looks is, instead of hitting maybe 4 or 5 workouts that week, they would only hit maybe 3 or 4 workouts that week, with an extra day off in between each one. Within each individual workout, I could reduce the volume and or intensity just to further emphasize how much I wanted them to recover. Again, guys, there's just so many things that could be done. The only thing that matters, and I want to scream this from the rooftops, the only thing that matters is that you drop fatigue. And so many ways that you can do that. As long as you accomplish that goal, you are executing a deload and you're getting what you need out of the deload. The final thing that I'll talk about is how to return to the gym after your deload. So there's a couple different ways that you could do this, and what I do with myself, because I believe that I'm skilled enough and manage my recovery abilities well enough that once my deload is over, I can literally just jump right back into my training program exactly where I left off. I notice that if I run my deload properly, I am immediately stronger when I come back into the gym. So for example, let's say that I have a lift that I've been stuck at 5 reps with for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Once I run a deload, I almost notice that I immediately come in and I'm able to hit that for 6. And that's an indicator that I ran the deload properly and my body's recovered and ready to go again. Now, it wasn't always like this for me, and it's definitely not like this for all of my clients. And what I sometimes notice with people is that first week back in the gym, they may notice that they're unable to kind of pick up where they left off with their lift progressions, and or maybe they're getting a little bit more sore than normal that first week back in the gym. So in an instance like that, I would make a note of that, and then the first week getting back from the gym, I would consider that a reload week. So we go from the deload into a reload, and the only thing that the reload really does is it's kind of like a middle point. So, let's say, just to kind of maybe put this with numbers or something, let's say that your normal training program, you're operating at 10 out of 10, and then when you drop into a deload, you're working at a 4 out of 10. The reload week, I may have the person working at like a 7 or 8 out of 10. So it's an improvement in volume, intensity, frequency, what have you from the deload week, but it's not quite as extreme as what a normal training week would be. And that would kind of give them a period to transition and kind of get their body acclimated again back to training. Now, I do think the goal is to have the program so fine-tuned and well-oiled that you should be able to immediately after the deload just get right back into your training and pick back up with progressing lifts and training as hard as you can. But I think that that's something that you need to work up towards with yourself or with your clients, because that has been the experience for me. My first couple years of following a real dedicated training program, getting back into the gym after a deload was always kind of a struggle. But for now, it's literally not a problem at all. I just pick right back up where I left off. And as I kind of said earlier, usually that first workout is always very, very, very good. I love the feeling of getting back into the gym after a properly executed deload and just seeing your lifts skyrocket right away because you've taken the time to recover, get your body ready to go again, and that's starting to show in your lift progressions. I'm going to go ahead and get this one wrapped up here, guys. As always, I'm hoping that this video sparks some questions or conversation. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments or contact me directly. If you're interested in online coaching or any of my consultations, I have that in the description below. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. If you're training today, then train hard. If you're resting today, then rest hard. And as always, guys, take care of yourselves.